Welcome back to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew. We're flying solo again today. Hopefully, our co-host, Mike, will be back with us here in a couple of weeks when his schedule clears up a little bit. So let's make the new banner and get going here. So let's see. Detroit 34. NYG 27, I believe. Let's have that scroll across the bottom. There we go. All right, so here we are back again on a Victory Wednesday. If you join the show, we appreciate it. Always happy to talk to you guys about the Lions. And we're talking about the Lions win over the New York Giants. This was in Detroit. Not a crisp game, but a game that the Lions did win. So that's something to be grateful for coming up here on Thanksgiving. The Lions play tomorrow at home against the Packers. So let's talk a little bit about the game. Let's see. I'm just going to go off some of the team stats here. The Lions were 5 of 12 on third down, not great. Giants were 8 of 16, also not great. So total plays, the Giants had 77 to 65. Total yards, they outgained the Lions 517 to 594. Not a significant difference, but they each had 12 drives. Let's see. However, Detroit rushed the ball for over 100 yards more than the Giants. I think partially because Jahmyr Gibbs had a wonderful day, especially in overtime with one of the best plays that you'll see. The Lions had 9 penalties for 81 yards. This is an issue that's becoming more and more pronounced. Each team had a turnover. They each threw a pick. Goff's was a tipped ball. Jameis's pass was one where I believe it was Thomas Harper simply stepped in front of the wide receiver and picked it off. So excellent game. Again, the Giants are only 2-10, but they have played the top 5 top teams in the NFL and all had fourth quarter meltdowns where they were in the lead. So not maybe the pushovers that we all expect. Like if half of those games went their way, they could be 5-7. Yeah, right now. So still not great, but a mite better than 2-10. The player of the day was Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs put the team on his back. He had multiple runs of 20-plus yards. His actual stats were 15 carries for 219 yards, 2 touchdowns with a long of 69 yards coming in the overtime period, right off the bat to force the Giants into a position where they had to score a touchdown to tie and extend the game. They were not able to do so. The Lions defense held. So let's talk. The theme of what I want to talk about today is this. So Jahmyr Gibbs had 15 carries for 219 yards and 2 touchdowns in the run game. In the passing game, Amon-Ra St. Brown had 9 catches for 149 yards and a touchdown on 13 targets. Jahmyr Gibbs had 11 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown on 12 targets. No other player on the team had more than 4 targets. Khalif Raymond had 2, Brock Wright had 4, Montgomery had 3 in the few plays that they even play David Montgomery anymore. Jameson Williams had 3 targets without a catch, and Isaac Tesla had 1 target, no catches. So this is, I think, the big issue that I see here is last season the Lions had one of the most prolific offenses in the NFL. And part of that, in my opinion, was based upon the fact that they had options available to them every game in most situations. So what I mean by that is they were on this down and distance schedule. David Montgomery would rush for 2 or 3 yards. Then you would throw the ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and maybe he'd get 4 or 5 yards. And now you're in like 3rd and short. And then the whole playbook is available to you, right? And so 3rd and short is much easier to convert than 3rd and long, statistically, historically. And the Lions were able to just maintain drives, get in scoring position, dictate the game from the lead, right? And that's kind of how they want to play. This season, I think that the turnover on the interior of the offensive line has hurt the Detroit Lions' ability to get on that schedule. And because of that, they are now relying on these kinds of explosive plays that, Jahmyr Gibbs is very, very capable of. And that has become the offense, unfortunately. So it's less, I don't know if I would say that is it less explosive? I don't know. It's hard to say after a day where Detroit had multiple big plays in the running game, but the Giants had, I think at one point, the commentator said they had 10 plays of 20 plus yards in the game. It was just like, so they ran almost 80 plays on offense in the game. And, 10 of those were for 20 plus yards. That's crazy. That's 200 yards of offense in 10 plays. Like, that's certainly not where I think you want to be if you're the Detroit Lions defense, So, but the Lions managed to come back. They managed to come back, fight back to a tie. And then when the game got into overtime, I believe the Giants won the toss and deferred. Yep. And then the Lions scored on the first play, and then the Giants weren't able to convert. The Lions defense got them where they wanted them and then made things tough. So let's take a look at some stats or some PFF grade, grades. Let's see, share my screen here. There we go. Okay, so not surprisingly, right at the top of the page are Amon-Ra and Jahmyr Gibbs, largely because they were the entire offense, in my opinion. Sam Laporta is not here. They just they refuse to involve Jamison Williams in the offense, and then for whatever reason they have stopped playing David Montgomery. So the Lions need these two guys to be the entirety of the offense. Penei Sewell played another great game. Had a nice game pass blocking and run blocking, which was great because the Giants defensive line is pretty good with players like Dexter Lawrence. Yeah, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, who's kind of becoming an issue. And they also have Kayvon Thibodeau, who was the next edge rusher selected in the 22 draft after Aiden Hutchinson at number 4 overall, I believe, number 7 overall. I'm not sure. So Goff had another good game passing. Taylor Decker played well on the other edge. Tate Ratledge, even though Tate Ratledge has a grade here of 71, which is pretty solid, he said after the game that he felt this was the worst game that he had played this season. Now, when you're up against Dexter Lawrence, and the other kind of interior pass rushers that the Giants bring to the table, and that's, I think, the best part of their team, I could understand why it might have been a rough outing, in his mind. Coyote Awashika had a 70 grade. That was pretty solid. Khalif Raymond played 27 snaps. I just don't understand it. Like, they didn't involve him much. Like, he just wasn't a part of the offense. David Montgomery played 23 snaps, 5 rushes. Seems odd that if I'm Brad Holmes, I might have to have a conversation with Dan Campbell and John Morton in the offseason to basically say, what are we doing? I mean, like, we extended David Montgomery and now you're not using him. Brock Wright, 61 snaps. He's the starting tight end for the rest of the season, most likely. Dan Skipper came in. Ross Dwelly was activated for this game. Anthony Fursker was activated. Isaac Tesla was way down there, but his run blocking grade was quite good. And this is the thing that I think that he can do that will get him more snaps, is if he just run blocks well. Because last season, and this is another difference that the Lions had since last season, is that the Lions played Tim Patrick a lot last season as a big, almost like another tight end, who lined up at that X wide receiver position, and he blocked well in the running game. And if Tesla, who's got size, can block well, he's going to get more snaps. And I believe that Khalif Raymond is on the injury report now for the Lions this week, and Tesla is slated to be that wide receiver 3. So if he can block well against Green Bay and just have a good outing just doing that, just working his butt off to block in the running game, I think that he'll probably warrant more snaps. Jameson Williams, unfortunately, down here. It sucks when if you're Jameson Williams and you're in the game for almost 70 plays and they only throw the ball your way 3 times. I mean, I understand that largely his role is to be that of a decoy and a deep threat. And he's not going to get, 15 targets or what have you in a game, but like 3 is a far cry from 15. And he hasn't really, I know that he wants to contribute to the team's success, but they have to have a plan for him. Like, I don't understand why we're not running more of these like crossing routes for him. Like, okay, Jared Goff, good over the center of the field, somewhere between 5 and 20 yards. That's traditionally been Amon-Ra St. Brown's area, but like, can we run some plays that might have Jameson Williams just, 7 yards deeper than St. Brown running a crosser, and like a St. Brown runs like a little hook or something to try and bring the defenders to him and open up just a little bit of a bigger window for Williams for the potential of a big play in the passing game. That would be nice. And then, of course, we've got Graham Glasgow down here at the bottom. Having to play against Dexter Lawrence all game long is probably not something that's going to give you a good PFF grade. I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying, like, if he had a 70 grade, I'd been like, oh my God, that's great. Way to go. And now on the defensive side of the ball, we've got Jack Campbell posting yet another grade at the top of the defensive side of the ball. Really good to see Aleem McNeil up here starting to play better. He'd had several games where I think he was just getting back into shape and knocking the rust off of it while he was recovering from his injury. His tackling was quite poor this game, but hopefully that'll get better. Kind of has to, I would imagine. Thomas Harper looks like a guy. I don't know what you do with Thomas Harper in the offseason. He is getting a chance to play because Kirby Joseph has missed 6 games in a row, which sucks because I'd rather have Kirby Joseph out there. But the Lions are being real careful with Kirby. They haven't put him on NFI or anything like that. They're trying to keep it open week to week and but they're eating up a roster spot to keep him on the bench. So Thomas Harper is getting a chance to play, and he's done well. Like, he had good grades in the Buccaneers game. He's had good games here against the Giants, and like you have drafted guys like that 7th rounder from Georgia, Dan Jackson, I think is who it was. in last year's draft, and I think he did that as like he's a special teamer or what have you. But like, is Thomas Harper, quote unquote, the backup free safety on this team for the next 2 years? Or do you want to go with a rookie on a guaranteed contract? Who knows? But like, I think Thomas Harper is either playing his way into a backup role next season on this team, like on the roster, no longer a practice squad guy, or he's going to be signed by somebody else who thinks they could be, maybe he's a starter for them. Is he, a New York Giant next season? Is he a Cincinnati Bengal next season? Like, who knows? Tyler Lacey, 20 snaps, played well in the snaps. Roy Lopez had had more snaps than we've traditionally seen from him in this game. And I wonder if that is because they're trying to give DJ Reader a rest, or they're just looking for some kind of particular lineup in certain matchups. Rocky Sin played another good game. No absurd penalty call on him this week. Tyrus Wheat, okay, he played. Aiden Hutchinson, 6 pressures and a sack. Not much of an impact, and he was up against Andrew Thomas and the Illuminor guy from New York, who played a really good game. And he got the sack that sealed the game in overtime. So, I mean, that was great, and that's when you want it. But like, my eyes are on Aiden when the Lions play defense, and the Giants just moved away from him the entire game. I mean, they did the kinds of things that you would want to do to a player of Aiden's caliber to minimize his impact on the game, and they did. DJ Reader, lots of snaps for him, good run defense. Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, not playing very well right now. DJ Reed, good to see him back. Got 30 snaps in. He's starting to knock off some of that rust. And another bad game for Amik Robertson. And I wouldn't be surprised if Amik was the primary defender on Wan'Dale Robinson for most of the game. But Brian Branch, what is going on with Brian Branch? Just doesn't seem to be involved much in the plays, in the scheme. This offseason, I'm going to be looking at, like, if I was the Lions, I would move Branch back to nickel full time. And I would look to find another strong safety, starting caliber strong safety on the field, and then move to, not traditionally some of this 3 safety looks that we see, are like these big nickel looks that we're seeing in the NFL now from teams like the Ravens and the Seahawks, but some version of that, because Brian Branch is just too good of a player to put so far off the ball. And he's better, I believe, closer to the line of scrimmage, where he can do things like cover running backs out of the backfield, take a tight end across the middle out of the play, blitz. In the run game, he can get into the backfield quickly, like these little like sideline to sideline throws that have become so popular in football now. Like, he's excellent at like sniffing those out and like getting in there and slowing them up, or just outright blowing them up. And then you can blitz him every once in a while too, and I think that his impact increases the closer that you get to the line of scrimmage. And I want to see him move back there. Arthur Mollett, who's played well for us at times this year, didn't play well this game, didn't get very many snaps, and has now been cut. Well, not cut. He's been waived, so he's going to have to clear waivers. If he clears waivers, he can be re-signed to the practice squad. And then Malcolm Rodriguez got in for 4 snaps and didn't play well. So, I mean, but like, he just came off of the injury report. And he's probably going to have to knock that rust off, probably get a lot of special teams looks, and then what have you. So all in all, a game that didn't look very crisp from Detroit. Like they are having to convert first downs on first or second down a lot. Third down has become a real challenge for them. And the more third downs that we don't convert on, I think the more fourth down attempts that we'll try and see. And that really can hurt the Lions by putting them behind the margins on things like field position, time of possession, that kind of stuff. So, of course, if they're successful, then the drive continues, right? So we're not sure how they're going to go. But, the Giants are in line for a really good draft pick again. Now they have their quarterback, they have a running back, they have a number one wide receiver, they have a really good defensive line, they have a starting caliber left tackle. Like the Giants are in a position to be flexible in the top 5 this next season, and therefore might be able to really add a lot of value to their team. And they're going to play a last place schedule, from the NFC East, which I believe means that next season they're going to end up playing the Falcons, Browns, and Cardinals, and that could easily be 3 wins, on their team. So that was the Giants game. Not the best. Not the best. Let's take a look at the matchup with Green Bay. Let's see. Okay, let's make this a little bit bigger so everybody can see it here. Okay, Green Bay's defense. Obviously, we have Micah Parsons, Rashawn Gary are their 2 edges. Edgerrin Cooper is a second-year player that has really come on. He's an excellent sideline-to-sideline runner. I don't think that the Lions are going to be able to run to the edges against Green Bay. They're just they have too much speed on defense. Xavier McKinney, I believe this is Evan Williams is this guy's name. Really good pair of safeties. Their corners are playing well, but it appears as though their corners are the weak spot of their defense. So I would be trying to attack their corners as much as possible. So but how are you going to do that? St. Brown's going to play in the slot. So let's put Green Bay here in the nickel. Yeah. Okay. So can the Lions go 11 personnel and get favorable matchups with St. Brown? Now, in the past, Green Bay is one of the few teams that will double team Amon-Ra St. Brown. And they are fine with saying, take your shots over the top. So if the Packers give the Lions shots over the top, this will at least be in Detroit inside of a dome. And Jared Goff might be able to take 1 or 2 shots to Jameson Williams over the top. I'm just going to keep calling for it. I mean, this very much feels like a Derek Montgomery run the ball straight forward, not, between the tackles kind of football game. And we've lost Sam Laporta, so I don't know that you have a matchup against their linebackers there. Khalif Raymond is not playing, so I don't think he's been ruled out quite yet. I'll look up the Pride of Detroit site here just real quick while we're doing this to see if we've got any new information. No practice report injury yet today of course, it's only noon. So Penei Sewell has played excellent all year. You have a advantage there running behind Penei Sewell no matter what. And I guess is Ratledge and Decker and Sewell. I mean, the whole offensive line has been on the injury report last week and this week for nagging injuries. And I'm sure that in the Madden ratings or whatever, that would drop their overall point totals, because they're not completely healthy, but like I think this is either a game where I'm either keeping Brock Wright in as a blocker to go heavy for a David Montgomery, maybe a Jameson Williams, or not Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs running attack, or I'm doing something like I'm taking Wright out of the game, and then I'm going to run something like Williams, St. Brown, Gibbs, and Tesla are the 4 pass catchers with Montgomery in there as running back, which I don't like because David Montgomery and, to be honest, Jahmyr Gibbs have not been good in pass protection from a running back position this season. So that is a problem if the Packers decide to like come with a heavy blitz. But if you have St. Brown, Williams, and Gibbs out there as receivers, and like maybe you do something where you have like a little play where Tesla just immediately blocks downfield for his guy, and then you throw to Gibbs, who's like literally standing right behind him. If you do something like that, it might be like one guy and gone. And maybe the Lions need to manufacture those types of plays in spots in order to beat the Packers. So it would be nice to get the win. As of right now, Detroit is not in the playoff picture. So let's see if we switch this up and look at the Lions defense here. Pretty standard defense. Harper, Branch as safeties, Anzalone, Campbell, Barnes. Those are your 3 starters. And this is the look that the Lions are in most of the time. Reed, Terrion Arnold is practicing this week. So hopefully he'll come out of the concussion protocol, and be available. And like, to be honest, I think this team needs Terrion Arnold. They need him to take these snaps to develop. They need him because he's the better corner out there than Amik. It's certainly the way the Meek has been playing the last 2 or 3 weeks. And then, of course, we've got McNeil, Tyleik Williams. This has been the heavy look that they've put in a number of times now, where even Williams or McNeil will be on the edge, and you will have Reeder and Williams on the interior, and then Hutch, is the effectively the lone pass rusher. I mean, McNeil has been a pass rusher before from the interior, but like he is not anything close to Aiden Hutchinson when it comes to like generating pressure. Let's will this give me what I want? Oh, maybe. Oh, this is just this year. Here we go. So he has had sack totals of, he does not have a sack this year. That makes sense. Last year 4, the previous year 6, then 1, and then 2 in his rookie season. So, like as far as pressures are concerned, like the most pressures that he has had in a season was last year, and he had 45. I think Hutch had like 3 times that number. So they don't effectively have a second pass rusher across from Aiden Hutchinson. I like Lee McNeil great, and he's had games where he took over the game, but he's not the same kind of pass rusher that Aiden Hutchinson is. Not a lot of people are, but the Lions are going to have to get a pass rush from some other part of the defense. I don't know where that's going to come from. So I'm going to do what I usually love doing here, which is I'm going to do another mock draft. Yay. And the reason why is the Lions are not currently in the playoffs. They are in the 18th spot, sitting just outside the playoff picture, which is why this game on Thanksgiving has become so important, is that the Lions need to either ascend in the NFC North to get the last wild card spot, or they need to win the NFC North outright. So in a down year where the only dominant team in the NFC looks like the Rams, it would be good for the Lions, I think, to buckle down, be well coached, and get a win on Thanksgiving. This is the only game of the year that I really look forward to from Detroit. So it would be nice. So the interesting thing to think about here for Detroit is if they are picking in the middle of the draft, like they are likely to get a quote unquote better player than we would otherwise normally get. So let's see. I'm starting to go through and like make a list of players that I think the Lions would fit the Lions, which I think is difficult because of all the teams in the NFL, I think that the Lions have about the fewest prospects on their board that they're actually willing to draft, people that fit the culture and the work ethic and, stay out of trouble and have good, their coaches speak well of them and that kind of thing. Like, I think that the list is quite small for Detroit. So let's take a look at this guy this week. This is David Bailey, 6'3", 250. He's a senior. He was a transfer from Stanford, I believe. And he has had just a fantastic year at Texas Tech this season. Hasn't played great competition. I don't know. So didn't play great against Utah. They have two NFL caliber tackles either this year or next year. He does have 13 sacks on the season, so he's been really, really good. 23% pass rush win rate. He's certainly more of a pass rusher than he is a run stopper. And I think the Lions could use a player like this. Someone who is dedicated to rushing the passer a lot, and like the Lions have made high value additions to the interior of the defensive line. So Brad Holmes starts off his tenure. He drafts Levi Nwuzurike in round 2, Ali McNeil in round 3. McNeil works out, Nwuzurike doesn't. So you found one guy. Then he signs DJ Reader. It's not to a big contract or anything like that, but he gets him out of Cincinnati where he played his whole career. DJ Reader's been excellent for the Lions. They invest a first-round pick in Tyleik Williams last year, right? They have invested a third-round pick in Josh Paschal, or a second-round pick in Josh Paschal, who is now out of days on his 21-day window opening and is either going to return to the team or be shut down for the rest of the season. And I'm betting it's shut down for the rest of the season. And he's in a contract year. So I don't know that he's going to be on the team next season. But maybe you can get him at a discount and keep him on for like quality depth, and he's more of a second line player. But they have drafted Ahmad Hassanein in round 6 of last year's draft, and like he just came off his injury settlement, so he hasn't even really been able to like practice or do anything with the team. So, but now he's able to, and like he'll get a full off-season program, and who knows what he might become, right? He's certainly like, if someone's going to have success from like a work ethic standpoint, like it's probably this kid. So he might be a depth piece. Will Marcus Davenport be back? I doubt it. I mean, like the guy can literally not stay healthy. He might be back this week for the Lions, but then again, rust, is he in playing shape, that kind of stuff. So what do you do? So you have the edge spot. I mean, they last 2 weeks ago against the Eagles, the Lions went with a defensive line of Aiden Hutchinson, Ali McNeil, DJ Reader, and Tyleik Williams. And they literally just put their best 4 guys out onto the field, and that's Aiden Hutchinson, who's a designated pass rusher, and then 3D tackles. I mean, you can say everything you want about like inside outside versatility for Lee McNeil and Tyleek Williams, but they're D tackles. They're not edge rushers. They're not pass rushers. They're not whatever, you know. So like interesting idea, you know, put your best players out there. I like it. But like can we maybe add a guy like this, you know, in addition to kind of shore up the ability to get to the quarterback? I think I would be a fan of drafting a player, you know, like this. You know, he's not small. You know, 250. You know, you add 5 or 10 pounds, and you're looking like a guy that's pretty close to Aiden Hutchinson. I kind of, you know, I like it. You know, it's a little bit of a luxury pick, or whatever, but I think the Lions have the opportunity here to like have a pass rush that other teams like fear, and not just from Aiden Hutchinson, like from a bevy of different directions, like interior from Lee McNeil. You know, you're still not able to run against them because they have that versatility. I think that it's a good idea to address some of this stuff. All right, so now here we have our first, I think, like real question about what to do with the direction the roster is going to take. I think there's several spots the Lions could go here. You know, if you have DJ Reed and you have Terrion Arnold under contract, so those are your starting corners at least for next year. What does Amik Robertson do in the offseason? His contract is up. He has played very well multiple times for the Lions over multiple seasons. He's the kind of player that they love, that kind of spunky, plays bigger than he actually is type of guy. But he's not really been playing well in the last several weeks. And if that continues for the rest of the season, then you might have to look somewhere else. And like, even like if he plays well through the end of the season, he's still, I think he's in his late 20s. He still has an opportunity to get a relatively good sized contract from a team. And can the Lions give him that? Like if he's wanting 10 million plus a year, I don't know that they can give that to him. You know, so do you let him test free agency? If so, how do you address adding somebody of his caliber? Like you might want to draft a replacement. Like that's something I would like to see them do. So here's Keith Abney, 6'1", 190, pretty much the standard size for every cornerback in existence. Coverage grade, good. Run defense, good. Lions love that. Man coverage, good. Zone coverage, better than man coverage. It's pretty good. Played mostly outside corner, has not played much in the slot. So not really the kind of guy I think that the Lions would be looking for, you know, another cornerback. So another thing to think about is the Lions also still have Ennis Rakestraw on the team. You know, he might have a good camp and be healthy, and like he might be a backup nickel or the starting nickel. And, you know, maybe he replaces Amik Robertson and finally gets some game time. Maybe you move Brian Branch from safety down to nickel to replace Amik Robertson, and you draft another safety. There's several. Let's take a look at some safeties here that we've got. So here's AJ Halsey from LSU. Now I believe he is transferred, 6 foot 222, so a pretty good size safety in college football nowadays. Excellent grades, good in coverage, good in run defense, average tackler, forces a good rate of incompletions. Comes up and makes plays. So he has played deep in the box less, so he's more of a free safety than a strong safety, and he has played in the slot a little bit as well. So I think that this is a guy that you might want to consider. Here, Dylan Tieneman is a safety that played at Purdue and is now transferred to Oregon, 6 foot 205, so pretty light. More of a free safety than a run stuffer, you know, but this is a guy that has played a lot of football. He's played as much. Well, he's played more deep than he has box. So if you're looking for a box safety, if you move Brian Branch, where is that guy? Where are you going to find that guy? Like, here is Kamari Ramsey. Like, maybe you draft this guy. He has been primarily a slot corner. Like, and how big is he? 6 foot 205. So, like, could Kamari Ramsey be the kind of guy that allows Brian Branch to stay at deep safety and he becomes your new slot corner? And all of this depends on whether or not Amik Robertson is not on the team next year. I mean, I would like it if he was, and then there's some other, let's take a look at Chris Johnson. He's a corner too. So 6 foot 195, really good grades, at least outside cornerback, almost exclusively. You could add this guy, and like, would you want to move Terrion Arnold into the slot full time? Maybe. I don't know. Depends on what the plan is for him. Caleb Tiernan from Northwestern is an excellent pass blocker. 6'7", 325. If he's here in round 2, like, you might be looking at this guy as an eventual replacement for Eric Decker. It certainly wouldn't break my heart any if you drafted this guy and he became the new Dan Skipper in his rookie season, and you like got his body ready and taught him a bunch of stuff and had him learn and play and watch Decker, and then I believe Decker has no more guaranteed money on his deal after this upcoming season. So then it becomes like, the Lions could move on relatively cheaply from Decker, or he could retire, if they don't want to commit any more money to him. Emmanuel Pregnon, really good zone guard, pass blocking guard from Oregon. He has played almost exclusively at left guard. 6'5", 318. If the Lions are not sold on Christian Mahogany, and either this guy or Vega Ione from Penn State are on the board, you could draft this guy to just be your left guard of the future. And then Christian Mahogany is quality depth. And then a guy like Coyote Awashika probably doesn't make the roster, right? You probably are keeping Miles Frazier, who you drafted last year. Graham Glasgow, I believe his contract is up. Maybe it's not. He might have one more year after this one on the roster. So then do you have an offensive line that looks like Decker, Pregnon, center on question mark, Tate Ratledge, Penei Sewell, and your backups are Miles Frazier, Christian Mahogany, maybe Graham Glasgow, who knows, right? But like, this would certainly be a continuing investment in talent on the offensive line. And as long as Jared Goff is your quarterback, you have to have, excellent offensive line talent. And like, to be honest, I think that offensive line play might be as big of an indicator of teams that are qualified to win a Super Bowl as quarterback play. So I think that I would probably at this point in the draft take this kid from Oregon, just to continue to say, like, okay, the left guard question, that's answered for the next 4 years. So Miles Frazier, are you going to train him to be your next center? Can you do that? Like, do you have one more year of Graham Glasgow in you? If you have, somebody other than Coyote Awashika on the other side of them, that kind of thing. And then, of course, the Lions do not have a third-round pick in this year's draft. They traded both of their third-round picks in this draft last year for Isaac Tesla, who they're not playing. So, like, I am hoping that Isaac Tesla is a full-time starter next season, like, basically on the field 2/3 of the offensive plays. So the Lions do have a bit of a wait here between rounds 2 until round 4 when they finally get, another pick. And like, now what are we really talking about here, right? So this is typically where Brad Holmes likes to move around in the draft, like traditionally up, and so the Lions have, and we haven't made any trades in this draft. The Lions have 1, 2, 3, they have 6 picks in this draft that they can play around with. So what do you do? Let's see. Okay, so they got some good options here. You have Keon Saab, who used to play at Michigan, then he transferred to Bama. I think that 6'1", 200. Once again, more of a free safety than he is a run stuffer. I like this guy quite a bit. Xavier Scott from Illinois. Illinois has produced some good defensive backs lately in the NFL. Devin Witherspoon obviously jumps right to mind. Man coverage corner, 5'11", 195, so pretty dense. Dense guy. Doesn't give up completions. So like this guy, I haven't watched any of his tape. He's clearly hurt right now because he's only played in 3 games. But like, if this is the kind of guy that sits in somebody's hip pocket and just doesn't let them and just shadows them the whole game, like that would be an interesting player to have on the team. Is this finally a run stuffing safety? No. All right. Akeem Mesidor. This is the other guy across from Ruben Bain on the Hurricanes defensive line, 6'3", 280. So he's already in that kind of Marcus Davenport, Josh Paschal body type. Excellent grade this year. He's played well against a bunch of teams. Notre Dame played well. Florida played well. USF played well. Florida State played well. And then, of course, excellent games against like lesser ACC competitions in Syracuse, North Carolina State, and Virginia Tech. 8 sacks, but like excellent pass rush win rate, excellent run defense grade. Like this is a guy that I think the Lions should take a look at, even if they do take a pass rusher in round 1. If he's sitting here on the board in round 2, I would absolutely bring in 2 rookies, one for each kind of thing that I want to do on this defensive line. That makes a lot of sense to me. I wonder how high this guy will go when it comes right down to it. And like, to be honest, like I don't really have anything else that I want to do at this pick more than that. Like this is the other guy that I would take a look at. Like I don't know what will happen with Drew Aller at Penn State, but 6'5", 240, like that's Jared Goff build, right? He's hurt right now. So sounds like a Lion already. And can you draft this kid if he's there? Like, why not draft this kid and put him on the bench for 2 years? Like, he's a 4th round pick. He's a 1st round talent. Why not put him down, heal him up, give him all the like preseason work and like training camp work and see if something happens with Jared Goff, if there's an injury, if his play drops off or what have you. Like, do you have a competent backup? Like, I know they like Kyle Allen, but I don't know that Kyle Allen is really the answer to what this team needs as a backup quarterback. Like, I certainly doesn't feel like a long-term replacement. We'll just kick this up a little bit. I doubt that he's going round 4. If he is, the Lions should. If he gets out of round 2 and like Drew Aller's not on the board, still on the board, the Lions should package some of these picks together, in my opinion, to go and get him. Now what do you do, right? So let's take a look at who we've selected. We've taken David Bailey, pass rusher, Emmanuel Pregnon, guard, and Drew Aller, quarterback. So let's take this kid. Let's look at this kid from Notre Dame. Finally, a run defender, 6'1", 201. Excellent tackler. The Lions will love that. And so I'm going to take this kid, and I'm going to say, if you have this kid as your backup, Brian Branch, or even a starter at strong safety, and you move Branch to nickel, or he's a backup Brian Branch, and you have Thomas Harper be backup Kirby Joseph, like that's a pretty solid multiple levels of depth in the secondary, right? Let's see. 6'5", 315. So like I would be looking at, here is a center. We need a center, right? 6'3", 302, so pretty light. Good pass blocker. More so if you see on PFF, if you see better zone grades than gap grades are the kinds of guys that the Lions want to draft, like big, powerful people movers that can move somebody off the ball. However, the Lions have been doing a lot of like these combo blocks where Glasgow and the left guard will double block one interior lineman, and then Ratledge and Sewell, and that just seems like not fair at all, will double block the defensive lineman next to that guy, and then the guards release to the second level. So maybe if you have Pregnon as one of the guards, and then this is the guy, maybe the center releases, to the second level and uses some of those movement skills, and once a 300-pounder gets on a 230, 240-pound linebacker, maybe that, it's a big difference, better than, when you're up against a defensive lineman. So let's take this kid. He plays at Iowa. The Lions love players from Iowa. It's a need on the board. It's a spot where you should be taking it. Okay, so now we've got, I think you got a lot of directions that you could go now. Let's look at this kid, Jaden Ott. So this is a kid. He played at Cal. He transferred to Oklahoma. They were supposed to have a big season. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's played in not all of their games. And clearly a player that I think has a lot of potential, and like we're not asking this guy to be anything other than like a special teamer, or Craig Reynolds' contract is up after the season. Like, if Sione Vaki becomes running back 3, like what do you want out of running back 4? Do you want a fullback? Do you want just another good special teamer? Like, do you want someone that has a little bit different skill set? Like, they might just keep Jacob Sawyers on the roster as running back 4 because he's returning kicks for them, right now. And like, he's on the team, has been on the team and understands that he might get a deal. Let's look at this kid, Darius Taylor. Like, this is a better player. 6 foot, 215, just a better running back in general, I would say. Plays against better competition. I'll just take this kid to be running back 4 right now, and a special teamer. Like, what else do you want out of a 6th round pick on this roster? Okay, so here we are, second to last pick. Let's review who we've picked. We've taken a guard, we've taken an edge rusher, a guard, a quarterback, a strong safety, a center, and a halfback, and a running back. So what else could we take here? We could take a linebacker. What happens if Alex Anzalone departs in free agency? I would play nickel all the time. So this guy's 6'1", 220. But he's a coverage guy, and he's probably a converted safety, or whatever, has played in the slot, played in the box, like I would take a risk on any. He's probably not going to go in round 7 if he can defend the pass, but I would take any coverage linebacker that you can, on this team. Like, Jack Campbell, I was not correct. I was wrong about Jack Campbell. I was so bummed when they took Campbell in 22. I was like a hulking middle linebacker from like the Tampa 2 days. Like, what are we doing? And Jack Campbell has proven, like, the thing that Campbell has done this year that I find so uplifting and changed my opinion of him is that he's making splash plays. Like, he's creating fumbles, like he's deflecting passes, like he is, and he's excellent at diagnosing and running to the football. That's always going to be his bread and butter. He's probably going to lead the Lions in tackles the rest of the time that he's on the roster. So you have the run defense linebacker. Can we find a coverage linebacker? Like, they have converted Derek Barnes into their strong side rush linebacker. I've just never been impressed with Derek Barnes' ability to rush the passer. I think that he's a middle linebacker who's being converted to something that he's not especially good at. So here's another linebacker from Pitt. Like, run defense, excellent. Pass rush, coverage, still pretty good. Really good at not missing tackles, so why not? Worst case scenario, you bring them into camp. Like, these are 7th round picks. Like, they're probably not, this is Mr. Irrelevant, by the way. Like, they're probably not making the roster anywho, but like, if you do, like, at least you're pushing people to compete. And if you do find a guy that, outkicks his coverage or what have you, then I think that you've found players who are worth breaking onto the roster, and maybe they're practice squad guys for a year, and then they get a chance, and then they become backups, and then who knows? So let's take a look at PFF. Of course, hates my draft, but I think that no mock draft simulator in the world actually understands what these teams want outside of a first round pick. So pass rusher, great. He was the 13th player on the board. We took him at 18. Good. They don't think the Lions need a guard. PFF does. They think they need a center and a tackle. Okay, I don't know why they think we need a tackle. You plug Pregnon here, or Prignone. I'm not sure how to say his name. You plug him in at left guard, and now you've got second round guards in Prignone and Ratledge on the roster for the next 3 years before you have to do anything with them. Okay, you've got youth on the interior of the offensive line, and they're big. You have a backup quarterback that you can sit and teach for 2 years until whatever happens with Jared Goff happens. You have a potential backup / maybe starter, depending on what you want to do with Brian Branch and Jalen Stroman. You can bring in Logan James and see what he can do or what you can do with him. Darius Taylor is running back 4. It's kind of a luxury pick, I guess you would say. And then a pair of Pittsburgh linebackers who can both cover guys. And, I don't think that the Lions are going to add 8 players, to the roster out of their rookie class. But, the back third of their roster are guys who are on 1-year deals. And you could be adding players at those positions, not all of them, but some of them, who are being paid less than what most guys would make on a 1-year deal. And they're guaranteed contracts, and they're 4 years long, all of them. And so if you have one of the guys, like from, pick 200 to 250 hit and like make your roster, great. Like, they're the cheapest you're ever going to have, which is good for the Lions salary cap. And it's not a ton of cap relief, but it's something, and you have depth. You're continuing to build depth. And like, we have seen even more now how important it is to add depth for this Lions team. No team is good at like having backups come in and play like starters, right? So, so all in all, it's good that the Lions got the win. They are one game out of the last playoff spot in the NFC. You have a division opponent that you can leapfrog if you beat them coming up here tomorrow. And, if the Bears could do us a favor and drop a game, that'd be awesome. Super. Thank you, Chicago. Lions still get to play both the Vikings and the Bears this season. And so it looks like that, there could be still some movement atop the NFC North. So, but it's going to require the Lions to play a little bit more efficient, crisp, dedicated football, cutting down on the mistakes. And you get your first opportunity to do that here at home on Thanksgiving, my favorite game of the year, the one that I want them to win the most. It's also my favorite holiday. So I hope that the Lions are able to come away with a victory. That'd be awesome. Hopefully they look like they've looked at earlier points in the year on offense. That would be great. And hopefully our, Terry and Arnold's back and we're getting healthier, and the Lions are get ready for, we're 2/3 of the way through the season. Hopefully the Lions can make a end of season surge here. If the Lions go 5-2, over these last 7 games, they finish the season with a 12-win season, and I think they'd be in the playoffs. So hopefully that's what the Lions do, and Lions have a good win, and we're back here next week on Thursday. I'm trying to get back to a Thursday game, Thursday show. But obviously we can't do that this week because of of Thanksgiving. So if you're watching and you're going traveling for Thanksgiving, please be careful. It's starting to snow. We're supposed to have a lot of snow here in Southwest Michigan over the next 36 hours. So be careful. If you're traveling, be careful. And if you're with family, which I hope you are, just be grateful, that we're able to do things like be with our families on this day and watch the Lions play football. So hope you guys have a wonderful holiday. We'll be back here next week, hopefully talking victory for the Lions. And just want to say I'm happy and grateful for this show and my co-host Mike. Hopefully he'll be back with us here soon. And for everybody that watches or comments or jumps in the chat with us, hopefully we'll get back to a place where you guys can do so on a regular basis. So anyways, thank you so much, everybody. Really appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving.